Yesterday we were in another panel talking about multicultural leadership, and they were talking about being on time. In our culture, at least in the culture I belong to, which is the Hispanic culture, from Costa Rica, I am originally from Costa Rica, we start not on time, but in time. when we have enough crowd to start something meaningful. So we are not on time, but we are in time because you're all here. So thank you for walking all the way in this cold weather to come and be with us in this panel about contextual stories in Hispanic congregations. My name is Fernando Cascante. I am one of the consultants for Calvin Institute of Christian Worship, working in different programs. One of them is this program. It's called a scholarship program for Hispanic congregations. Calvin Institute of Christian Worship has a long history of worshiping community grants. Now there are also preaching grants. And that's for all congregations across the country, all denominations. But get what? Over 20 years of this program, only 3 congregations, Hispanic congregations, have participated. So 2 years ago, exactly, there was a new initiative in Calvin Institute of Christian Worship to start inviting Hispanic congregations in an intentional way so that they can be part of these resources and opportunities to develop their worship practices and understandings, and now preaching practices and understandings. So we designed a project together with Maria Eugenia Cornu, who is a program director here at Calvin Institute of Christian Worship, and we started developing a program to invite Hispanic congregations to be part of this scholarship program. Many of them didn't know even that the program existed. And those few who knew this program existed didn't know how to apply because there was everything in English. They didn't know how to plan a project, how to develop a budget for implementing a project. So it was an issue of knowing about and knowing how to do it. So we designed this program to exactly let people know about the program, but also accompany the congregations so that they know how to apply, how to implement, and how to, in that way, involve the whole church in renewing practices and understandings of worship and preaching. So it's been 2 years that we have developed this program in cohorts. We started in Florida with 15 congregations. Then we moved to California, where Francisco and Tom come from. And we have 17 churches in California from all over across the state. And this year we started a new cohort in Puerto Rico. We just decided a new cohort beginning this year in New York. And so this is the idea, to go to different places and invite congregations to be part of this program. And we are so glad and excited that both Tom and Francisco, and a lady that you will see in video because she cannot be here due to a family emergency. She couldn't fly in and be with us today, Rosa. But we will be hearing from her through a video. So we have 3 congregations that went through this program. They got a scholarship, they apply. We helped them understand how this functioned. We gave tools for them to do the planning and the budgeting, and also be available for them for questions along the way. So that's the nature of the program. Is that clear? Okay. Let me say something quickly about myself. I am from Costa Rica originally. I lived here for 23 years before returning 2 years ago back home. But I'm blessed by the opportunity of working for Calvin Institute of Christian Worship from home and coming every time it's needed here. But with Maria Eugenia and I, we are so excited that we are part of this program. So We're going to start with Tom. He's going to say who he is, what he does, and what was the project about. Then we will hear the same from Francisco, and then we will hear for a few minutes the video so Rosa can be with us too. Tom.
Thank you. Good morning, buenos días. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Tomas Ivens. I'm originally from Mexico, living in California, US for many, many years. Basically, I am, number one, I am ordained ministry for the Christian Reformed Church in the Classes GLA, and my role as well as a regional pastor in the Classes GLA. And for the last probably 35 years, working in the Latino communities, basically in the community development projects across the California and U.S. Working from scratch, from community programs, outreaches, urban ministries, including some project with the White House in 2004, 2006, related to the Compassion Capital Fund in the White House. So I have the opportunity to experience the different ways of worship as well. It's different to worship in California than in Florida, because the culture is important and make a mark in that way. So basically our project was related to number one, to increase the capacity of our youth to develop a better music and worship understanding. Number two, to increase the capacity and educate and train our leaders from our church to not only to the appreciation, the value, and not to say only, oh, worship is this, is go a little bit more deeply to understand what is the importance of the worship in the house of the Lord and personally, as part of a Christian journey. And number three, the resources that we provide, people, leaders, speakers across the California that we have the opportunity to invite to provide those trainings from the biblical perspective, from theological perspective, Old Testament, New Testament, different views of what worship means, and of course, the form and styles of the Latino worship. So basically, we're three of our main points to instruct to the congregation, and the name of we said was Jubileo, because everybody know that in the Old Testament, Jubileo is the entire year of joy and praise. So inspiring and sharing with leaders and church members how to practice a healthy worship, because sometimes we have a wrong perception of what worship means. Building the worship base based on the Word of God, that is important in the context, and increase worship capacities based on the music training and training experiences. So what we did is the youth musical experience and worship. We have at that point like 3 teenagers, less than 16, 17, 15, 14 years old, part of the worship team. Ethnos, at that point, it was the church planting project. So what we did is increase the capacity, provide more tools for the existing worshipers, teenagers, and invite some other teenagers as part of the congregation to be included in this experience with Calvin Worship Institute grant. So intergenerational worship experience, youth, children, young adults. It was very important to move on in this project, and the Bible and theological teaching on worship, which was for us it was the priority in terms to understand those factors, and of course the experience that we had, it was an incredible related with training leaders. In the beginning, it's going to be only CRC, ethno CRC church in Bellflower, but we have the idea, along with the leaders of the church, with the team leaders of the church, to invite a couple more CRC churches locally. So at the end, it was ethnos plus another 3 other CRC churches, leaders, where we have the opportunity to invite them to come and have the experience of the teaching, have the experience of about the music. We try to integrate in some of our worship experience other type of worship and music, like Tex-Mex, for example, with accordion and some other instruments that most of the time are not used to in the Latino churches, at least in California. Las congas, congas in Florida or in other, it's normal because they culturally. So the implementation of other instruments, other rhythms, like a little bit of cumbia, a little bit of Tex-Mex, flavor, bring us a huge enrichment for our church. And one of the most important things here is that with the support of Calvin Worship Institute, we have the capacity to increase our level of organization in the church as a leaders, the integration as a leaders, because we got a team who work very diligent during all this process of more than 5-6 months, and the resources, what my brother said, our resources that they provide us in order to develop a budget, develop a plan, develop goals, develop activities that definitely need to be articulated with the mission of the church. I think this is very important because it's not only to bring speakers, it's not only to teach, it's not only to provide materials and books to the congregation, but also the organizational part is crucial to make this type of grants possible. So on behalf of our churches in California, CRC, we want to say thank you to the Worship Institute, Calvin Worship Institute, for this tremendous effort. And they are pioneers, I think, because it's not only CRC churches, independent churches, Lutheran churches, different expressions, denominational expression that I think bring more, a richest, way to appreciate our Latino cultural worship.
In the tradition of the Hispanic church, that sometimes there is this sense that the pastor passes on to the son or daughter the role of leadership. Well, we want to encourage other styles of leadership. And so what Tom was saying, the importance of training teams within the congregation is crucial in this program. Let's hear now Rosa. She couldn't be here. She's a pastor. She's going to introduce herself through a video. Due to an emergency in her family, so we are really sorry that she couldn't be here in person, but she was kind of doing this video for us.
Buenos días, my name is Rosa Cándida Ramírez, and I'm the Associate Pastor of Spiritual Formation of La Fuente Ministries, a bilingual, intercultural, and intergenerational community of Christ followers in Pasadena, California. I'm thankful to the Calvin Institute of Christian Worship for the opportunity that our congregation had with the PBCH grant. And I apologize that I'm not able to be with you in person, but I would like to share a little bit more of what we experienced with our grant. Our grant project was called Worship of el Pueblo de Dios. And the expected impact that we had, well, what we hoped for was to identify poets and songwriters and prophets in our worshiping community through workshops that would encourage members of our congregation to write bilingual poetry, prayers, liturgies, and to participate in congregational writing that focus on the themes of Lent, Holy Week, Easter, Pentecost, with the lens on immigration, social justice, and mental health. And second of all, was to record these bilingual prayers, poetry, liturgies, and congregational songs. And the hope was that as a congregation was exposed to more of these bilingual prayers and poems and liturgies and congregational songs, that we would record these resources in audio format and in video format. And so, as you can imagine, there was a lot of planning involved. And during this phase, members of the implementation team and planning team met various times, and we were very unaware of some of the hurdles ahead. But what we knew was clear for us that we wanted to empower members of our congregation to be able to use creativity in liturgical context, and second of all, to create through the grant, to create these trainings in the creative writing process that would cultivate a learning community based on honesty, creativity, and hope. And so we had that in mind as we were planning. And what did that look like? So for the first 5 weeks of our grant, we gathered together on Sunday mornings after service. And just as a reminder, La Fuente is bilingual, intercultural, and intergenerational. And so there was a recognition that not every one of the participants had the same language when it came to access to creativity or art or to even make as a whole. And as part of the grant, we decided to begin building trust between our participants by reading the book, The Artist's Way. And so in doing so, there was a common vocabulary and understanding that common fears when it comes to creativity, like that is okay to express, and that the knowledge that each of the participants weren't alone, and they all shared, although it looked differently, they shared the same fears and expectations and hopes when it came to creativity. And so in reading the book, The Artist's Way, we began practicing our artist homework, if you will, as part of the book. And The Artist's Way was able to have participants, and there was about 10 to 12 of us at any given moment that practiced the value of hospitality as they began to listen deeper to one another's dreams and vulnerabilities, and recognizing that there is an innate gift and of creativity that God has placed in each and every single one of us. And so these book sessions or book study sessions would happen after church on Sunday, after our Sunday morning worship, and it was such a beautiful time, which actually led to the following phase, or phase 3, if you will, which was workshops. And after meeting and reading for 5 weeks of The Artist's Way, which we recognize is a very short amount of time, the project participants were invited to participate in 4 different workshops, and those included 3 music workshops and 1 writing workshop, to begin building that confidence and to begin implementing what they had learned in those 5 weeks during The Artist's Way and actually live it out. And so, it was beautiful to see people, or to see the participants try out, what do you think about this? Or how does this sound? Or just trying and having that vulnerable moment of sharing the material with one another. But after the music and writing workshops were completed, participants then asked, let's continue to create together, which was very exciting. And they were doing so without instruction, and they worked really hard on their bilingual songs and prayers, and they were able to then workshop with one another, trying out different ways of singing a song, or trying out different lyrics to a prayer, or listening to one another's creative work. And that was just very beautiful to see the back and forth that was happening. And phase 5 of our project was recording and presenting our work. And this was by far the most challenging phase, as there were just many numerous challenges to the recording process. None of us had recorded before. None of us has created anything before like this. So we were learning as we were going. And again, we're thankful for this opportunity. And project participants are invited to record their work and also present the work to the congregation. And like one of the things that wasn't expected was the creation of the song "Made in Your Image," which focuses on having on speaking about the realities of disability and not being seen, and just recognizing that we're all made in God's image. And so that was beautiful to have the congregation receive these gifts, and with the knowledge of these aren't done yet, but yet this is a gift that can be shared throughout this learning time. And the congregation received it. It was just beautiful to see those participants just beam with pride as they got to experience for the first time their work being presented during worship services. So it was such a gift. And then as part of our final phase of recording, we recorded, and one of the songs, "Made in Your Image," is the following. I am scared of the days ahead, filled with such uncertainty, but I surrender and ascend, for your staff and rod, they comfort me. And development, we're not frail or delicate, too overloaded to respond. We on the spectrum do belong. We are made in your image. Somos hechos a tu imagen. You are the voice for the mute. You are the sight for the blind. You are the sound for the deaf. You are the God of our life. Eres para el mudo su voz. Eres la vista para el ciego. Eres sonido para el sordo. Eres Dios de la vida, consumed by sadness and drowned in doubt, overwhelmed by anxiety. My dark depression shuts me down. Sustain my soul, come breathe on me. We are made in your image. Somos hechos a tu imagen. And you are the voice for the mute. You are the sight for the blind. You are the sound for the deaf. You are the God of our life. Eres para el mudo su voz. Eres la vista para el ciego. Eres sonido para el sordo. Eres Dios de la vida. We are made in your image. Somos hechos a tu imagen. We are made in your image. Somos hechos a tu imagen. We are made in your image. Somos hechos a tu imagen. We are made in your image. Somos
a tu imagen.
Hi, everyone. My name is Francisco Zamora. First of all, thank you, Calvin, for this wonderful experience. It's been an amazing time. And in the Hispanic context, when service is really good, we always, we say, síguele, síguele, like, keep on going, keep on going. So it's been that experience so far. So thank you so much for having us here. So I was born in Mexico. I migrated to the United States when I was 15 years old. I am a bivocational pastor. My wife and I planted a church in 2016. We survived COVID, so yeah. Yeah, we thought we wouldn't. We did, so that's good. We are a very diverse group of Hispanics. We have second generation, first generation. There are 5 groups of Hispanic represented in our church. Colombians, Peruvians, Salvadorians, Guatemalans, Mexicans. As part of my secular job, I work as an operations manager for a food service company in Los Angeles. So it's been a learning process for me because I learned that I have 2 ministries, the church and then my job, because a lot of Hispanics work in warehouses, restaurants, that industry. So it's been a journey for me to learn that it's not only the pulpit, but also my job. I graduated from Fuller Theological Seminary in 2020. I didn't have a ceremony, thanks to COVID. I only got a picture of my certificate that they show when it was being streaming. After I didn't want to go to the graduation, it was pointless for me. But in 2012, I married a wonderful woman. Her name is Natalie. The woman who dared to take the risk of marrying an undocumented immigrant. That's challenging, and that's a lot of courage there. There is a lot of limitation when you marry an undocumented. I've lived 22 years as an undocumented in the United States. All my formation as a student was as an undocumented. My calling for the pastoral ministry as undocumented. And then I've been working for the same company since I got here to the United States. So we have 2 children, Evan Santiago and Valerie Natalia. The reason of the names is because they are from here, but also they are from over there, from the south. So that's why that mixing. I know there's going to be conflicts for them in the future to understand their identity. Hopefully we can guide them, and in God they can discover their calling. Our project was, we named it Immigrant Church. Obviously, because of my experience as an immigrant, but also because in California, especially in Los Angeles, no, it's fine. A lot of churches, most of the churches receive undocumented families. That's a reality. We are a community that are characterized by low-income families, single mothers, the dysfunctional families. There is a lot of issues in our families because of immigration. I didn't see my mom for 22 years physically. So there is a lot of things over there. So our congregation is a reflection of what we are and the struggles that we have when we come to this country, when we decide to come to this country looking for a better life. So sometimes we feel lost, wounded, and the right place or the only place that can heal us is church. So as a church, we committed ourselves to create a safe space for healing, but also for integration. One of the things that has impacted us a lot as pastors is seeing the devastation, the suffering, dysfunction, and the trauma the Hispanics suffer. Like I mentioned, we are a part of a population that needs to be healed, guided, and oriented in this new culture. So as leaders, we try to include the right tools to equip our church so we can be more sensitive to the needs of our community. With this project, we wanted our congregation to learn how show empathy and hospitality as an experience of our worship. Our purpose was for them to understand that they are a pilgrim church who promotes a universal language of worship. We promote love as a language. We are more fluent in love than in English or in Spanish. And then we emphasize that our citizenship is in celestial places. So in order to accomplish that, we created a program with different classes. All the participants for those classes, all the teachers, we gather and discuss the topics, trying to be more intentional with the needs of our community. So it was classes of leadership, preaching, and worship. With those classes, we tried to, number one, leadership, equip our group of leaders so they can be aware of their surroundings, but also be aware that there is, or we have, undocumented families in our community. But also identify undocumented families and be aware of the needs that they have. For the preaching, our intention was to create a pulpit that empowers, but also help imagine a new season, a new horizon for our community based on the narratives of the Bible. And the music was with the idea of that create the sounds of our hometowns, those instruments that we hear in our lands, in our homelands, and then bring them here and make them feel home while we are singing, gathering. We also project some images of the different cities of Latin America, Mexico. We play different songs that are familiar with the culture. And then for our closing events, we have two very intentional events. It was a retreat. Most of the families, when they just arrive to the country, they don't have the resources to have just a weekend without worrying about anything. So we provided a place, we rented out some cabins, we installed them, and we provided them a program so they focus on their needs and how things have changed for them in order to change their narrative now in God. The second closing event that we had, we call it a healing service. So we were very intentional on that, and we, with the help of Ana Sigüenza, she's another Fuller student, she helped us out to talk about trauma and violence, and just start that process of healing. As Hispanics, we don't express much of our sufferings. We are very close community where we suffer inside. And with that service, it was a wonderful service where a lot of people was crying while we were talking about trauma, losses, and everything. So it was a wonderful experience for us.
Thank you, Francisco. Thank you, Tom. Because we want to dedicate some time for questions that you probably have now after having listening them and seeing the video. Just in 30 seconds, each of you, what was one of the things that impacted the church, that continue to impact the church once you have completed this project? Because this project helps congregations to implement a project in a period of about 6 months. But then, what are the seeds that then bear other fruits as a result of this project? Just one quick thing from each of you. Francisco and then Tom.
So I have 4 things that we learned, and they were impactful for us. So first thing is that being able to invest, train, and develop the talents in our community. Because of our lacks of resources due to the struggle of trying to settle here, adjust. So there is no economy, a fluent economy usually in the families. So being able to provide and have the families not worry about financial stuff, it was great. And then see developing their talents was fantastic. Also, it was a reminder for us of the power of the church as a healing community. Sometimes we forget that we have that power in us. Also, we focus on speak love. We have first generation and second generation. So, and then we have Spanglish. But more than that, we want to see tangible actions of love in us and then serving our community. And then it was an opportunity for me to share parts of a project that I'm working on that is becoming a book about immigrant churches.
Yeah, I think one of the major concerns that we have as a church is to see our youth leaving the churches or move out of the churches. So in the beginning of this project, one of the focus is how to maintain, but also get involved youth in worship, in music. So one of the things that it will impact is that we have 3 teenagers working in our worship, and after September, October, we already have a second group of teenagers of 11, 12 playing instruments and being part of the worship team. So for us, it's very important to see in the future that specific generation is some of them bilingual. They see church in a totally different way that traditional people, can see church and develop church development. And for now, we are in a little pause because Ethnos is in the process of emerging with another Latino church. But definitely, what you mentioned is the seed is there, and we are looking for to continue growing and developing this specific area of youth involving in worship. So I think it's important. Many of our churches, when we're looking around for people who help us in worship, playing an instrument, very few people is available. So, but if we invest, Francisco said an important word, make the investment. It's a long term. You need to have a patience. You need to have a very encouraged time for them. but it's our hope to see that plan grow and be fruitful.
It's your turn now. So you probably have questions or comments. So, yes.
I was fascinated by your healing service. So can you tell me a little bit more about like how that came about? What was the content of the healing service? Did you incorporate music as people were sharing their trauma stories? And how did it affect, were there future opportunities for ministry as you conducted healing services?
Thank you. Yeah, so Ana Sigüenza, she's a psychologist, and then she has her foundation in Fuller Theological Seminary. She was very, very awesome doing that job. So she addresses immigration, and one of the common syndromes for the immigrant, it's the Ulysses syndrome, which, let me see if I have it here. So we incorporate songs, but not the regular songs, right? We incorporate songs that are very common for Hispanics. There is a whole generation that grow up with specific corritos, specific songs. But that even if they were not familiar with church back in the South or Latin America, they knew or they have an idea of those songs. So we incorporate those songs, familiar songs, with their homeland. Also, pretty much we asked Ana to lead us. I mean, she's an expert doing that, but she addressed the Ulysses syndrome. Let me see if I find it. In case if I don't find it, I can share my manuscript of the book. But it's a whole section, it's a whole chapter on the psychological needs of the Hispanic community. And in that chapter, I mentioned that syndrome, which is very common in immigrants, which it's the losses that you have when you leave your country. Pretty much you're not familiar with anything here. If you are lucky enough to be in a established community, Hispanic community, for example, in LA, we have a very big Hispanic or Mexican community, then we have Salvadorian community. I mean, if you're lucky enough to get there, I mean, you're gonna have some glimpses of your homeland, but there is a huge difference. You still, if you come by yourself, but in my case, I came by myself, 15 years old. So I was dealing with depression. I was dealing with identity. I was dealing with trauma. I almost died at the border, so I believe, when I was writing the book, I believe that I diagnosed myself that I was traumatized. So all those topics, she addressed it in a very wonderful way. The losses, the trauma, but also the reality that we are human, and we are good if we express it in church. Church is not a place where we can stop being human. Actually, it's the place where we can be more human, and that changed the whole dynamic of the service. You could see people literally crying in their seats because of all the things that they were healing. Yeah, I couldn't find it, sorry.
You comment a bit on the strengths or weaknesses of a bilingual service versus services in Spanish for your community?
For both? Both.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's going to be number one, depending of the context in the, how do you move, for example, in Los Angeles. I am helping and coaching a church planting in Bakersfield, and this guy is bilingual, he's Mexican-American, and he's developing the idea of with YouTube videos, and everything is doing bilingual. But because it's Bakersfield, there's a lot of field workers that they were born and raised in that place and dealing with both what he said is Spanglish. They love it. However, there's other type of community that probably is more first generation immigrants that probably they will join more everything in Spanish. Everything in Spanish. So, but the situation is coming when your children, I mean, the first generation, you know, have a children and they start growing in the church and they speak English. So is it time maybe, and you start planning ahead how we can put together intergenerational service with a bilingual, or that is not my thought, putting a different English worship services for Latino who speak in English only. You know, there's a lot of models, there's a lot of options. It's going to be depending of the culture and the context. If it's 100% Mexican American neighborhood, or is a mix. But the beautiful of this is that you have options, that you have thoughts, and you have the freedom to apply those churches with the basis on the Bible perspective and theological perspective, and just do it. It's a lab, probably, you know, but you enjoy doing that type of job. And I'm speaking as a church planter, you know. Thank you.
Francisco, you want to say something, or?
Yeah, Rosa, her community has done a wonderful job incorporating both generations to one session, to one service. I believe it's a challenge, especially because for first generation tends to resist changes. I know it because first generation in my church, they resist. They want to continue singing coritos, alabare, alabare. And then the second generation wants to sing in English. So it's a challenge. So we created some specific spaces for them to express. And depending on the movement, right? And how things are going, we're trying to incorporate both generations. It's two different worlds, literally. So it's a challenge. I believe the benefit of doing that is that we will have Hispanic youth loving the Hispanic church. Because right now we have a lot of youth looking for another options. Not necessarily taking the ownership of their church and taking them to the next level or the next step on God's plan for the Hispanic church. Just a comment. I found the steps that we follow for the service. So we focus on 6 morning effects affecting the mental health for immigrants. Family and loved ones, the uncertainty of not knowing if we're going to reunite with our family. Second one, language. Language. Culture, a lot of conflicts, especially for Hispanics. We are very friendly, very family-oriented. And when I say family, we love our tios, our uncles, our aunts. We consider them as part of the family. Here, it's a little bit different. It's more individualistic. It's you are on your own. You need to be independent. In Hispanics, it's if you are 30 years old and you haven't get married, you still live with your parents. So it's a cultural thing there. Then homeland, unfamiliar places, temperatures can cause stress, social status, adaptation to lower socioeconomic conditions. We have families that they used to be professionals in their country, and now they're working in a warehouse because of the language barrier, and because they need to see how can they validate their education. And then group belonging. Sometimes the immigrants don't feel that they belong to anything. So they need to adjust, and they need to heal that. Yeah, those were the topics.
Thank you, Francisco. Yes.
My name is Joan Heiser-Honig, and I wondered, can you spell out the syndrome you were talking about that just sounds so fascinating? What? Ulysses.
Yeah.
Syndrome.
And you can Google it. I just Google it and you can find it. So Ulysses syndrome.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yes.
My church uses CCLI to find music, but there's not always a lot of bilingual music or music written in Spanish. Do you have other libraries of places you find worship music, or how does that process happen? Or
So it's interesting. Nowadays, there is more translated music into Spanish or vice versa. There is like a phenomenon going on when it comes to music. And for some reason, Latin music is becoming more popular in the United States context, and vice versa. English worship music has been always popular in Latin America. So the way that we do it, it's, to be honest with you, we just listen to music and then, oh, this sounds familiar. So we start, and then nowadays, after COVID, there is a bunch of worship groups, and they come up with different versions of different translations of the same song. So it's very interesting, and it's challenging because it requires to understand both languages, because some translations do not make justice to the words. So, and it happens in both languages. Yeah, so yeah, the tool that we use, we try to listen in English and Spanish, and then compare versions, and then word by word, especially when something doesn't match, like the feeling of the song. So we try to spend a little more time doing that.
And also, in addition of what Francisco said, is many of the Latino or Hispanic or Christian music in Spanish is created in Latin America. For example, Argentina, they have a great, writers. Some other areas in Colombia, but in U.S., they are developing other different styles that is according to the context. Sometimes they do it bilingual by themselves. It's automatically, they sing English and Spanish. Some others are only Spanish, depending of what type of music. If it's ranchero, mariachi, cumbia, creo que hay hasta reggaetón. So there's a different, you know. So what Francisco said, it's very hard to tracking all those pieces, but you need to have a lot of patience to start looking for some different websites where those guys is uploaded the different type of music, but it's very rich today. You know, it's very rich. So yeah.
Maria, you can refer to something that also we do with these groups, because as you know, third generation Hispanics, English is the main language, so we're concerned with providing resources that are bilingual as you're trying. So Maria, can you tell about the
No, just a couple of years ago we published a hymnal that is fully bilingual with over 500 entries, and the accompaniments have been published too for different instruments. Of course, it doesn't represent everything that's available, but at least we tried to include different traditions, from traditional hymnody to corritos and more contemporary songs. Of course, if you use CCLI, it's more contemporary, but you will find some. And we tried to have a balance between songs written in English and songs composed in Spanish. We tried to keep track of different countries of origin for songs composed in Spanish. So it's a resource. It's the hymnal is called Santo, 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 Holy, Holy, Holy. So this is one resource. It's not all that's there, but it's been an effort to at least assist, especially with congregations, and primarily English-speaking congregations, or trying to invite or host bilingual worship services, and also for the 1.5 or second generation of Hispanic congregations.
And you will be surprised to see how many songs you can find in Google that you say translated and already, and even with the music. So it's there. It's a matter of doing some research. I'm aware that we are about the time that we should finish, but let me tell you one thing. In the Hispanic tradition of churches, at least in my experience of church begins before the service and continues after the service. So we know more or less when to start. We're not sure when to end. Sometimes in worship services. I'm sure Francisco and Tom and myself are excited to stay as long as you want, answer your questions. So if you need to leave because you have another commitment, this is a good time to leave. If you want to stay for other questions, feel free to stay. We can spend a little more minutes answering questions. One thing I will say just as a closing, that the challenges that you were talking about bilingual issues is a challenge for all churches, because even though we may be speaking the same language, if we're a full community, we are an intergenerational community. And even with the same language, we speak different languages. And one thing we need to do is to remember at least three things. Jesus said, the kingdom of God is like a wise man that takes from a trunk all things and new things. The old and the new should be part of our experiences of worship. That's one thing. The other thing is Pentecost. In Pentecost, there were people from all different regions, and they were able to listen to the gospel in their own language. And language have to do with own experiences, culture, not necessarily language as the words spoken. Language as feelings, emotions, interests, needs. And if a church is a fully community, which means an intergenerational community, we need to endeavor to make sure that everybody experiences worship, the word, in their own language. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your attention. Let's give thanks to Tom and Francisco.